Thanksgiving is a fabulous time to break a hand. Not really, but sarcasm is a coping mechanism. But why stop at one hand when you could break both? Go big or go home, I always say. Here's the story. Back in my two-legger days, I was an avid martial artist. One crisp autumn day, I was sparring. Whereas boxing is the sport of friends, punching friends in the head, Taekwondo is the art of friends, kicking friends in the head. That said, even foot fencers will throw the occasional punch. Such was the case when I saw an opening. My right hand curled into a fist and I sent it hurling towards my opponent. It landed with a satisfying thud and a not so satisfying crack. I have a saying that we all have our own style of stupid, so please don't judge me if my style differs from yours. My unique brand of stupid is that upon breaking bones, I figured I was being a wimp, and I was really fine. So naturally, I kept sparring. In my defense, I didn't throw any more punches with that hand. I'm not a complete fool, only a partial one. When class ended and I tried, with much grimacing, to remove my sparring gear, I reflected that maybe it was time to question my self-assessment, and that an X-ray might be in order. Gingerly, I pulled out my phone and texted a friend, who happened to be a general practitioner. Hey Bob, I think I need an X-ray. At that point in life, I felt very healthy. I'd never needed to see a general practitioner, just an OBGYN, which meant I was a new patient. As a mother of a special needs daughter, I can tell you that medical problems come with paperwork, and lots of it. Having had my fill, I wasn't going to turn down an excuse to instigate my own paperwork reduction act. I greeted the receptionist. She returned the greeting with a pile of paperwork, which I believe is the standard greeting.
Please fill this out.
Alas, no paperwork for me.
Alas, you have another hand.
Bother, she spotted the loophole. Turns out I'm fairly ambidextrous. Who knew? I can write decently left-handed, which is fortunate because it also turns out that my right thumb was broken. I was given a cast and sent on my way. That Sunday at church with my 5-year-old daughter, things got interesting. Sweetie, you don't look like you're 5 anymore. Hey, buddy. Can you pretend to be your sister for me?
Okay.
Now that our actors are in place, let's proceed with the reenactment.
How'd you break your hand, dearie? Did you fall down the stairs?
Mother, punch somebody really hard. Boom.
How do you really break it?
What this one said.
Oh.
Naturally, I went straight back to Taekwondo. You see, so long as I held my hand over my head, it should be perfectly safe. I mean, it takes effort to kick at head height, so if my hand stayed above my head, no one's going to accidentally kick it. Since I only sparred with cool people, I wasn't worried about jerks taking aim at my hand. For about 2 weeks, I did Taekwondo with the poise of a fencer, arm gracefully raised above my head. Just kidding, there was absolutely nothing graceful about it. My arm was so tired. One afternoon, I was in the middle of a lively match when a buddy of mine kicked at my torso with a back leg roundhouse. Crack! For the record, I did successfully block his kick. He didn't get a point, so it wasn't a complete waste. This time I only sparred a couple rounds instead of a couple hours before wising up. Turns out old dogs can learn new tricks. Also turns out that sparring gear has a lot of straps and ties, and the ratio of usable hands to knots I had to untie was rapidly moving in the wrong direction. With the few functional fingers I had left, I pulled out my phone with much difficulty and texted Dr. Bob.
Hey, Bob, I think I need another X-ray.
Did you bump your hand?
Not that one. I went for a second time to the doctor's office and was greeted by the receptionist. No paperwork this time. I was a little worried she'd make me use my feet, but thankfully she conceded.
Very well.
Thank you. I went back to the exam room and was greeted by an unexpected sound. the sound of laughter.
Oh.
I was shocked. Dr. Bob was usually such a soft-spoken, respectful person.
I'm so sorry. I've never laughed at a patient before, but what were you doing?
Awkward. Well, you see, as long as I keep my hand above my head, it's perfectly safe to spar because no one's going to accidentally kick that high.
You did what?
Like I said, no one's going to accidentally kick that high, and in my defense, that's not the hand that got hurt today.
Oh.
This fracture was on my 5th metacarpal and was worse than the first fracture. To paraphrase Oscar Wilde, to lose one hand may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. I was starting to wonder why I was so breakable. I'm pretty sure it's a constitutional right to be able to punch someone without breaking a hand. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but my spirits were a little down as I walked out with a cast on my other hand. I had a displaced fracture and needed to see an orthopedic doc. Thanksgiving was days away, soon to be followed by Christmas. How was I going to cook Thanksgiving dinner or wrap presents now that I was short-handed? I hadn't even eaten yet that day and had done some heavy sparring. When I got home, I ravenously went into hunter-gatherer mode.
No!
I came to a speedy conclusion. I'm going to starve. Still, the optimist in me was alive and kicking. You can totally still kick with broken hands. I looked for the silver lining and found a bittersweet one. It being the holiday season, maybe the coming weeks presented a special opportunity. I envisioned random strangers seeing me with 2 little kids and no usable hands, and kindly opening doors for me or doing other small acts of service. As humbling as it is to be the one being served, it might be heartwarming to witness the true spirit of Christmas and rekindle hope in humanity. Humanity is doomed. Usually fractured hands only need to be in cast for 6 weeks or so. Due to some complications, mine were in cast for 7.5 months. In all that time, only one stranger, I repeat, only one, lifted a finger to help. No one else held the door open or handed me things when I dropped them, despite how obviously and pathetically I struggled at times. And the casts weren't exactly incognito. My hope in humanity may have been crushed, but not my sense of humor. There was a certain slapstick humor in almost everything I did. I mean, have you ever tried getting boxes of stuffing off the shelf and into a shopping cart? Or what about root beer? It was a riot until I finished my Thanksgiving shopping and went to check out. The cashier and bagger simply would not help me unload the cart and just stared as I struggled to pull things out, looking bored and irritated like they wished I'd hurry up. It wasn't this store, by the way. I liked this store. When I finally got to the bottom of the cart, I discovered, to my dismay, that the packaging on the turkey had ripped. The ice had thawed and turkey blood was dripping everywhere. I said, "Excuse me, but could one of you help me? The turkey's leaking blood."
Hand it to me.
You want me to pull it out of the cart?
Yeah, it's your turkey.
You work here, and your hands don't look broken. So would you please lift it for me?
Okay, I guess.
I still can't decide whether it was bad customer service or whether people are just really, really oblivious. It's worth noting that it's very hard to film with these on my hands. So if you'd like to show a little appreciation, I could use a thumbs up. Though interactions with random people left me a little jaded, my neighborhood was truly incredible. One friend invited my family over for Thanksgiving dinner. Others helped me with housework.
I'll be forget this time.
The months passed. Naturally, I continued to attend Taekwondo. I mean, it is mostly kicking, though I wisely decided to forego punching and sparring and instead focused on katas. That's such a bogus kata. And kicking the stuffing out of Bob. Use what you've still got, I always say. See, I'm learning. In fact, I learned many valuable things. First off, you can still have fun even when things go wrong. Even though I couldn't spar, there were many things I could still do. I mean, with my new exoskeleton, my ridge hand strikes are stronger than ever. If some mugger had tried to target me, thinking I was easy prey, he would have found that not only could I still kick, but my casts were lethal weapons. Secondly, I learned from the orthopedic doc that my bone density was not so good. No wonder my bones kept breaking. It was a blessing in disguise. If I hadn't broken my hands, I might not have realized the problem while I was still young enough to build up bone density. I caught it just in time. Third, if you break a thumb punching someone, especially if you're a girl, men will assume you don't know how to punch right. If I'd had $1 for every time some man assumed I'd broken my hand because I'd punched with my thumb sticking out, then it totally would have covered my doctor bills. Fourth, I can play the piano with 2 broken hands. Not super well, but I'm still putting it on my resume. I could also type, though it's tricky because this cast extends beyond my fingertips. I didn't even starve. Humans are amazing at adapting to bizarre challenges. Learning to think beyond my limitations served me well later when my leg was crippled. Fifth, if you can push aside the inherent frustration of a physical impairment, you just might discover a wide world of humor. I was constantly cracking up because I tried to do something simple and it would devolve into a ridiculous slapstick situation. Life was a comedy. I've never laughed so much in my life. Sixth, I'm glad I didn't waste time waiting for my current challenge to end. I didn't wait for things to be perfect before living my life. If I had, I would have missed out on one of my last opportunities to do Taekwondo before my leg was crippled and eventually amputated. And like I said, the ridge hand strikes are amazing. So tell me, what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way? I'd love to hear them. And whatever you're going through, hang in there. And may you find the equivalent of your ridge hand strikes. I'm Stefanina. Thank you for joining me on my amputee adventures.
Huh.